It's not the weekend, but it is Mailbag. I am doing a special midweek Mailbag this week because I'm chocolate at the weekend. That's all. And joining me on this one is Sam and Dan. First things first, get the important stuff out the way. Dan, what do you have on your pancakes?
Maple syrup and a bit of cream, like a chantilly, a bit of whipped cream.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Sam?
Didn't have them because it was my birthday, and I need both festivities to take place. I'm not combining, so we're having them later.
Well, first off, happy birthday for yesterday.
Thank you.
No? But I would have sent you some happy birthday message on Twitter with a witty gif or something like that.
I said, it's all right. It just becomes admin, actually, when people wish a happy birthday on Twitter. It becomes like an hour's admin task. So
birthday cards are like that as well a bit, though, aren't they?
I just want to say before we start, I just want to say, just for the guy that commented on the last time I was on about my phone being the wrong way round, I'm landscape now, mate. I hope you're happy.
Sure he will be. And just to the guy who commented last time we wore my Tories out t-shirt on the podcast, I'm still not sorry, and I will keep wearing it. Anyway. Sorry, Sam, you were saying...
No, I was just saying you need to. You can't be combining Pancake Day with your birthday because that it makes both less exciting. You need discreet celebratory days for both of these things.
Yeah, like people.
So I'm Shrovin or whatever it is today.
What are you going to have in your pancakes then? You're back. You froze then. You're back. Oh, she's gone again. While Sam keeps us hanging, are you there? Oh, she's blinking. I'll come back to you. She's having some issue. She's still there. She keeps momentarily coming back. It's like she's frozen and she blinks. So
like a living statue.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You'll enjoy if you're watching on YouTube. Oh no, you won't be able to see it because it just flicks to us as we're speaking. Bloody hell! Are you there, Sam? No. She's having a bit of a mess. So Dan, we'll go.
I am, but I can't really hear you.
You can't hear me.
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. We can hear you.
You hear me again now?
Yeah.
Oh bloody hell! I had this last week as well. I don't know what's wrong with it. Sorry.
And the big question is, just before we get onto your pancakes, do I cut that out the podcast or keep it in? I'll leave that up to Matt. He has those decisions. Sam, so what are you going to have in your pancakes tonight?
Oh, just the Jif lemon and sugar, the classic.
Yeah. See, I ran a poll yesterday on that. I'm working. Oh. And sugar and lemon came out on top with 50%. Got a massive 14 votes. But my Nutella was kicked into second.
Well, it's just a bit sweet Nutella. Like you need the sharpness to round it off a bit.
It's true. It's a classic as well.
Yeah.
We all had as kids, grew up with it. We're going to hot topics. So this story there's two reasons for this one. It's Andre Gomez and Kepa. So what's the worst ever substitute? Dan?
I can't remember the actual, my sort of recall on this is fuzzy. But I'm sure there was a game involving Liverpool. I think they were losing. I think it was under Brendan Rodgers. Gerrard was on the bench. He brought him on and he got sent off after 60 seconds.
It was United at home, yeah.
Was it United at home? Yeah.
I don't even think it was 60 seconds, was it?
70, I think.
Yeah.
I looked it up earlier and he said less than a minute and a half. And I was like...
But yeah, I remember, I distinctly, I didn't remember it was United, but I remember because they were sort of baying for him to come on. He came on and he clattered straight through someone, didn't he? And basically got sent off straight away.
I think he stamped on Ander Herrera.
Yeah.
But I've watched that like it's a TV blooper. Like sometimes I'll watch that on a loop just for the joy of it.
Yeah, that is a tremendous shout, actually. Sam?
I was going to say that, but I suppose after that it's Ali Dyer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Weir's cousin.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, in a contradictory way, these are the two best substitutes ever.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't remember it at the time, but I've seen all the old footage, and obviously Souness was involved in that as well, wasn't
Makes
he?
it even better, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Cuts of that little great thing they put on Twitter all the time, which is Souness in that sort of whirlpool of
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fury.
When he's talking about Paul Pogba,
fury,
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, can you imagine what he must have been like after that? He's just brought on one of the worst players he's probably ever seen in his life, and he's had his cacks pulled down big time.
Like, how does he deal with that though? Does he front it out, or does he just get really cross?
He'd just throw stuff, wouldn't he, and get really angry, deflect massively.
Yeah, blame someone else a bit further down the supply line, like.
I reckon, yeah, that's definitely what he'd do. Joe Grogan picked up on MDA's 5 last week and said the worst substitute ever is tofu instead of meat. Well, it depends, doesn't it, really?
Well, sorry, go on.
I like a bit of deep fried tofu as a switch up, you know, bit of tempura tofu, nice spicy little dipping sauce. I quite like that.
Depends on the meat as well. I remember I was from Goodison once, and it was like there was like a huge air pocket between the meat and the top bit of pastry. The meat was really flat, and it was genuinely like cat food.
Flat meat.
Flat meat is the title of the podcast. Get in. Flat meat.
Delicious. See, I don't even eat meat, but I cannot stand tofu. Like, I just can't eat it. I can't. Do you know what it was? When I was must have been about 17, I had my first flat, and somebody had bought me like a little care package of food, and there was like tinned curry tofu.
God.
And it was like, it's the worst thing I've ever eaten in my whole life, and I've never been able to eat tofu since that day.
Yeah, there are certain things that can be tinned and certain things you can't. I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of vegetarian things cannot be tinned.
Yeah.
Like back in the, because vegetarian food used to be awful. Certainly meat substitutes, they used to be terrible, and the cheese ones and stuff. And they used to do this thing called mock duck, but they'd put underneath what it was, and it's braised gluten. Like, which is fine if you do it right, but just don't tell people that. People don't need to know it's braised gluten. That's not a nice thing to imagine yourself eating.
No.
They've come such a long way, actually. Like, it's absolutely amazing since people have been having vegan days and all that. Like, it's amazing what you can get now. But back in the day, there were some really grim meat substitutes.
Those Vigilantes chicken wings are incredible.
Oh,
they're
really?
They're mad because they've got a bone. They've got like a bone in them.
Ooh, fancy.
And it's made from like compressed sugar something, you know.
Yeah.
But they're absolutely just, you know, you put some Red's hot sauce on top of them, and it's just like, you know, you genuinely wouldn't have a clue. It's one of the most sort of ridiculous moments of sort of mind trickery ever, because they've actually gone to the trouble of not just creating a protein substitute that looks like the protein, but someone's gone, well, they won't like them if there's not a bone in it, and they've created this little thing that's made out of, I think it's like sugar, some sort of, you know, hardened sugar thing, and then you've got the skin on the outside and they're just berserk. They're like really genuinely like, this is very impressive. You know, just as an exercise in technical skill, it's it's mind-blowing.
This is something that gets the gammons really going, isn't it? Like one of those inexplicable things that they hate, the fact that you will put what the meat substitute is meant to be like on the packaging.
It's not a sausage. How dare you call it a sausage? A British sausage is made from meat. Yours is actually a vegetarian. Yeah, yours is a vegetable-based viscous protein tube. I think you will find. They get furious about it.
Well, it's like even the vegan, even the Richmond sausages, they've managed to put like that skin on them that actually splits when you
Yeah,
try
very good veggie sausages.
they're amazing. But it's I love the fact that someone has sat down in a laboratory somewhere and gone, they're not going to buy it unless it's got skin on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most of them have them on now. Most of them have skin.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Really.
What I love about the Richmond ones is they've recreated like a proper scummy,
Oh
like,
yeah,
cafe sausage.
calf sausage. Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah,
like, you do believe there's like bones and bollocks in that. You really do.
That could be the title, bones and bollocks.
Flat meat, bones and bollocks.
On today's show with me, I have bones and bollocks, Sam and Dan.
I don't want a nice sausage. I don't want, like, this one could be on sausage and it's amazing, but it's like a £5. You don't always want something nice.
The Beyond Meat stuff's crazy, isn't it? It's like £8 for 4 rashers of bacon and all that sort of stuff. You know?
That is the thing with Richmond, though. They are the ultimate, like, filthy sausage. They are so good on white.
Yeah.
And exactly what you need for a sausage butty.
Yeah, no, completely.
Back to substitutions. My one is Ross Barkley at Chelsea about 8 years ago.
Oh, God.
Down at Stamford Bridge. I think it may have been the last game of the season. I think Naismith may have scored.
Were we winning that?
To the look, we were winning it, yeah. And we got beat in the end, I think. Well, we would have done because it was down at Chelsea. But Ross Barkley came on, and I can only describe his performances. He looked like he'd been running around in circles with a brush on his head. Because he looked completely lost, reaching its absolute high point. He played a pass between 2 Everton players that were like 20 yards apart and straight out for a throw-in. That's what he was looking at, but it was just the worst displays I've ever seen.
It's straight out for a throw-in that's reminded me of it. I couldn't place what you meant until you said that. But you're always playing sort of Barkley roulette, bringing him on, aren't you? It's even now.
100%.
Whenever you know, no matter what period of Barkley, there's always that moment, especially if it's on TV and they cut to him, and you can almost envisage the kind of, you know, the mouse playing a tiny wind-up piano in his head. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, he has that look on his face sometimes of, as you say, like, who? Like, literally, he's just been dropped in the middle of a pitch and someone's gone, there you go.
Yeah, just glazed.
He has that sort of, that kind of, you know, such a shame because from the knees down, he's wonderfully talented, isn't he?
Yeah. I've been with you, Roscoe.
God, it's
another great FA Cup moment from Everton, that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just waiting for his sort of glazed eyes to fall on the blind alley that he's going to run down. It's like...
and then just shoot anyway. I don't think I've seen a player smack a shot off someone's shin so often. Just running to be a player coming to challenge him, we just hit it. Mad.
It is. I think we've talked about this before. There's some, especially Everton players. Maybe this is just an Everton-based phenomenon. Players who are fine until their heads go, and when their heads go, they're just done.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like you'll always have a sort of Michael Keane de jour, won't you?
Yeah. Every generation's got one.
It's his face, isn't it? It's his poor little face. You can just see it just drains out of him. You can just see it, and the eyes go, and the face locks in this kind of rigor of it's happening again. I've got my giant shoe on. You know what I mean? It's the giant shoe all over again, and his face just locks in this thing, and you just think, oh no.
He's the dog with the cupcake meme, isn't he? And that's what he is every game at one point or another.
Oh, bless him.
Poor old Mick Jagger. So next up is based on yesterday's magnificent thread of favourite half man half biscuit lyrics. If anyone's not read it, it was by at superbreeze_Bex on Twitter, and she just asked people, what's your favourite half man half biscuit lyric? So I am throwing this out to favourite song lyric, but feel free to jump in with half man half biscuits because we have got 3 half man half biscuit fans on. Laura was due to be on. Apologies to any Gatesy fans, but she's not well. So it's just the 3 of us. So yeah, Sam, we'll come to you first. What's your favourite song lyric? Half man half biscuits or otherwise?
Me, was that?
Yes.
Well, the one I said on the thread was the half man, half biscuit lyric. If I were a linesman, I would execute defenders who applauded my offsides. And that's always been in my top 5. I think that will constantly stay in my top 5. The one that I think about most, just because it occurs to me in daily settings, is the Comsat Angels one, that I can't relax because I haven't done a thing, and I haven't done a thing because I can't relax.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that every time I've got something to do, up to 3 times a day, I can relate to that.
Yeah, that's a belter. Yeah, pretty much sums up my life as well.
It really is everybody's issue.
Yeah, if you've got nothing to do, I am so on edge because I'm like, well, I obviously need to be doing something must be doing. I can never relax.
Yeah,
which is horrific.
But you can't settle on it. You can't quite settle on what it is.
No,
that you need to be doing.
Yeah. Oh God, that set my anxiety right off now.
Right? Yeah, I shouldn't have really brought that. Yeah, let's stick to kind of jocular, Wirral-based puns. That's
what I'm all about. Dan?
And the 2 that immediately sprung to mind, the Massive Attack lyric, I was looking back to see if you were looking back at me to see me looking back at you.
Oh.
Which I just think is, it's just, because we've all done it. We've all done that, looking over your shoulder to see if the person who's gone is looking back at you to look at, and it's just,
yeah.
And the way it scans in that song, it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely stunning. And there's an incredible lyric off the new Half Man Half Biscuit record, which is, he went to Nosy Safari Park once and he saw a monkey with a banana and a tin opener, and he shouted at him, "You'll never get into it with that, mate." And the monkey shouted back, "It's for the custard, dickhead."
So good.
I just think it's just fantastic. But I love the A to Z, the linesman one is just that. There's the one which is, G is for the gnarly face of the man who's on 90 grand a week and thinks I should have given him a throw-in. Or X is for the Portuguese defender as he plants a kiss or something like that. It's just incredible. I love that. I love it. So,
for some reason, you always has me in stitches in that one. Say, you is the umpire, which I wish I'd been. You never get a cricket crowd screaming, "Who's the bastard in the hat?" I don't know why it tickles me. It just absolutely touches me funny bone, that one.
There's another good one where sort of every single line is a belter. It's breaking news.
Oh yeah.
I think it's off Camel Laird Social Club.
Yeah.
Operation Less Pricks, and then just goes off like teenagers spitting needlessly, and fellas who wear jumpers over the football shirts over the jumpers at matches and things like that.
The guy who gets up at 6:30 every morning and seems to want a medal. Oh,
that's a belter. That is a belter, yeah. His favourite one on that is just Lisa Riley.
Lisa Riley, yeah.
Just on that new album as well. So has everyone seen the Aaron Ramsdale video where he's in the chippy?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very good. It is. But I just want to hear the whole of Goodison next time he's there singing "Take Your Chips and Fuck Off Home."
Fuck off home. Yeah.
Fuck off home.
I could die a happy man if that happened. My Half Man Half Biscuit one who always springs to mind is Nero Fiddles While Gordon Burns.
Yeah.
Spot on. But every line in Joy Division Oven Gloves is spot on.
Yeah, it's amazing. A Million Years Old is Still in Trouble. That's one of my favourite ones off Black Tape, off Shaking Money. And just for pure sleaziness of it, Duran Duran on Save a Prayer, when he says some people call it a one-night stand, but we can call it paradise. God, Simon.
Do you know, I was out and about on Saturday, and Hungry Like the Wolf came on the radio, and there's a lyric in that I had to kind of go, huh? Because you never, it hadn't sunk in for years. There's a lyric in that where he says, "I smell like I sound."
Nice.
And I was like, I thought I'd heard it first time, and I was next to Nick's in the car, and I went, hang on, we've got to turn this up. I'm sure he says, "I smell like I sound."
Fresher 30 years ago.
And it was like, and he does. He says, run for the ground. I smell like I sound. I'm on a hunt. I'm after you, and all that. But I thought, how can that be a good thing? That you smell like you sound?
I'm having trouble just processing what exactly it means or how it can be.
And I was like, and it's something that's haunted me for about a week, because I'm like, because obviously they were just trying to rhyme stuff with ground.
Yeah.
And various other, ound things. But,
I think it's.
And
really
there's also a bit where he says your juice tastes like wine, which is a bit weird.
Oh dear me.
I
mean, on every level, that's just weird.
but it's the fact that he smells like he sounds. And I was thinking, is that, because he's a wolf and he's hungry, obviously, for wine juice.
Apparently.
And then I was like, so if he sounds, and I couldn't put the two together to make it even mildly make sense.
Yeah, it set my anxiety right off again, that.
I'm just imagining just a fella looking me in the eye. "Sorry, love, your fanny's cooked."
I've just got this vision of him in the studio, with his head thing on and the pair of tights in front of the mic, and singing that lyric and looking through the glass, and Nick Rhodes or one of the brothers, the beautiful, handsome brothers, going, Nailed it.
I think it's really bold introducing the word smell to a song, because I think it always sounds dark. Like, that Ed Sheeran one, that's "Last night you were in my room, now my bed sheets smell like you." Yeah, my bed sheets smell like you. I'm like, that's a complaint.
It is, isn't it?
"Oh, sorry, mate, threw them away, I'll buy new ones." Like,
whenever I hear Ed Sheeran, in the brief period before I've turned it off again, his lyrics always sound incredibly creepy. Like, I'm in your back garden with some night vision goggles and a KFC bucket creepy. It's like, they're all
I actually thought that was one of his lyrics for a minute.
They're all quite, it's the shape, I'm in love with the shape of you, and it's all quite needy and weird, and they all just have this desperation to them.
Yeah.
And
it's
this
soft
kind
boy,
of,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's all a bit kind of like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but this is quite playful and sexy. But at the same time, it just sounds like he's peeled a sort of porno mag out of a bush.
Yeah.
It's just like, ooh, yeah. Yeah. But I bet he doesn't smell like he sounds.
No, definitely not.
No.
Definitely not. Galway Girl, there's a belter. That's bordering on cultural appropriation now, isn't it? Shocker of a record, but just so Irish.
Yeah. If cancel culture was real, he'd have been cancelled. It's
by everyone, surely.
Yeah.
Completely. On to another Ed. Now, Ed at Dixie 60. Dixie 60. Jesus. That was a lovely segue into Ask Us Anything. So he said Everton fans are social media sleuths from Vibrac. For anyone who doesn't remember Vibrac, I looked it up before. This was a story from 2016. Chris Matheson, the MP for Chester and Everton season ticket holder, asked Greg Clark, who's the Culture Media Sports Secretary, if you'd ever heard of Vibrac Corporation. Between 2011 and 2013, the company described by Bloomberg as a closely held lender, whatever that means. Sounds like an Ed Sheeran lyric. The British Virgin Islands was allowed to make millions of pounds in loans to Everton, West Ham, Fulham, Reading and Southampton, despite the mystery surrounding who actually owned the company. Shady loan deals for the Toffees. And there's us worried about USM now. which is the next part of the question, which says, where is it? So the flight paths of private jets to potential signings and who they follow on Instagram. Why haven't we been interested in Usmanov's influence at Everton? I know the answer is probably obvious, but I still find it weird. So anyone want to jump on this? Why have we not been so keen to look to see if he is actually interested in the club? Has it like a big interest in the club? Because it's all just sort of been, well, we all know he's in the background, but he's not really. It's been a bit weird, hasn't it?
Well, to be honest, if someone's a sort of mineral mining billionaire, I assume that, I assume nothing good is going to come of their involvement. So I think it's.
This is the thing, isn't it? The whole thing with this ownership thing with Abramovich and now Usmanov, it's like there are levels of ethical billionaires that people think exist.
Yeah.
You don't. If you're a billionaire, you've got no ethics at all, apart from.
I think there's also that thing that for so long, when Moshiri arrived, there was this obviously connection between them at Arsenal and all that sort of stuff. But there was this constant narrative from certain parts of Everton Twitter that he had nothing to do with the club. They kept telling us there's nothing. He's got nothing to do with it. He's his business partner. He's his blah blah. There's no money. There's no endless stream of, oil cash or gas cash or whatever it is, or steel cash. There was this constant narrative on Everton Twitter that I know you all think that he's the guy, the puppet master, but he isn't. And it was this constant thing. So you either believe that or you didn't believe that. So you either went with the sort of side of the people that were looking at documents on Company's House and saying, he's not there, he doesn't exist, right? And then that kind of started to unravel, didn't it? When USM started sponsoring the training ground and Megaphone, and that started to, but those same people were saying, yeah, but that's just a subsidiary of a company that's owned by Moshiri as well. He's one of the directors and sits on the board. And there was always a way to either poo-poo the idea that he had anything involved with us, or the conspiracy that he was basically the man in the shadows, And
That's
either
the
way,
problem, yeah.
in either way, whatever his involvement is, he's as culpable as Moshiri is, because he's sat by for 5 years and watched it basically piss down the drain and be a general disaster area. So for all his money and influence and all the tiny assets he's dribbling in and the washing of currency and all the things that apparently he's doing, and he's going to name the stadium and he's going to finance this and he's going to supply the steel and all these things that are being buzzed around. Well, if that's true, then he's as bad as Moshiri, because he's basically sat by and watched it go to shit. And I think the reason why no one's really worried about it up until now is because we've never really either believed or wanted to believe or cared, because the situation at the front of the house was so dire. And the man that pops in from Monaco every now and again, who looks again like a little sort of lost antique shop owner from Falmouth, who looks like a sort of cross between a sort of, a kind of low rent sort of Lovejoy and a secondhand car salesman who pops over every now and again, sits next to Bill Kenwright like a mute and just grins inanely like he's on Ket, and because he was such a disaster, whether there's a Bond villain-esque oligarch sitting behind him saying, don't do that, or I'll give you another 15 million for that, or whatever, was such an irrelevance, because the overall situation at Everton was just, and still is, a bit of a disaster. You know what I mean? So I think now it's being highlighted because of the, awful situation in the Ukraine and stuff. And what happens, obviously the statements come out this afternoon about them, suspending links to various revenue streams that are obviously based from him. But they're also these companies are also Moshiri companies, aren't they? He's shareholders in all of them.
Yeah. He
sits on the board of these companies. So it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. And whether it affects us in a long-term thing or not is kind of a bit of an irrelevance, really, because we need to stay in the league first. But you know, I don't think it's been ignored. I just don't think anybody's had the time to worry about it whilst we had to watch, you know, the garbage we've been watching for years, you know, and having to put up with a man whose name I won't ever say ever again.
Yeah, that's I think that answers the question nicely. We'll move on. Like Blakey's asked, apart from mailbag, what would you usually never do in the week that you do at the weekend? Be careful with your answers. This is a public forum. But Sam, for no reason whatsoever, I'll come to you first.
Oh God, all sorts. Like if I'm not going to football on a Saturday, you know, sometimes I don't get dressed. I'm filthy. I'm disgusting. Like I'm an absolute disgrace at weekend because I don't know. I just think all bets are off. You do what you like.
Yeah, if you're not going to see anyone.
Yeah, I haven't got children. Like nothing needs to be dealt with. So yeah, absolutely all kinds. Yeah, I'm an absolute pig of a weekend.
And it is your right to be. And having no kids, and enjoy it while you've got no kids there.
Yeah.
You have got to do stuff at weekends. It is.
I remember that with my little sister, and I remember thinking, oh God, what if this happens to me as an adult? Like they've got football practice, and then they've got swimming, and then they've got someone's party to go to, and you've got to get a present for the party, and you don't always drop them off. Sometimes you've got to stay for the party. And I just remember thinking, you just don't have a weekend. You don't have a weekend for 14 years or something. Like
the word drop off is the key though when it comes to a party. If you see that word drop off,
yeah,
at the bottom,
a drop off party, yeah,
you're like, yeah, mate,
yeah,
I'm leaving them at the end of the drive, and I'm out there quicker than you can say. Quick couple of pints.
Yeah, paper's getting read this weekend.
One thing I don't miss as well is soft play areas.
Oh mate.
Like sort of fun ball stalls for kids.
Oh mate, they smell of feet.
Oh God, the ball pond.
There's always like really sinister. Like I'll never forget the signs up outside them that have clearly been provoked by an incident. Like stuff like children feeling sick should not be allowed in the ball pool. Oh God, I'm so glad I wasn't there that day.
Yeah, they don't put those signs up until something's happened.
Oh no.
Retroactive with them, yeah. Defo. Dan, apart from wallowing round, what do you do at the weekend that you wouldn't do in the week?
I don't really talk about Everton in the week. I don't think about Everton in the week. Try not to. You know, and then the weekend comes and it all just, you know, falls down a
clouds start to form.
Quagmire of, you know. So, you know, I wouldn't be. As I say, I think, you know, in the week you're just sort of, you're doing your thing, aren't you? You've got a routine that no matter how inane it is, it kind of helps to stop you thinking about it because you're sort of like, I don't want to think about it, especially under the man who won't be named.
Yeah.
You know, because it was like, I can't deal with his press conferences. I'm not listening to his, you know, his sort of deflective, talentless drivel. I don't want to see his strange, you know, bulbous head, you know, glaring back at me from an ill-fitting suit. You know, you've got a fortune, mate. Go to a tailor. Do you know what I mean? You know, learn how to do a tie-up. It's a bare minimum. So in the past, it was just avoidance tactics. It was just like avoid it, mute it, and then prepare yourself, big deep breath for the kind of the inevitable disappointment of the weekend. Remove, you know, spend most of your time thinking, why did I put that player in my fantasy football league team out of pure loyalty? You know what I mean? It's just like, I put him in because I like him. And it's like, he's never going to do anything, is he? Because he plays for us. But so yeah, the weekend is my sort of Everton safe zone. But I try not to worry about it in the week.
Yeah, that's a very.
Otherwise, I'd be doing a lot more of this.
Constantly. Just on our former manager, when when we do eventually do this half man half biscuit tour of the world, Sheldrake's is on the list.
Yeah.
He might be in there. So just have to train yourself if he is. The only thing I could think of for this really was roast dinners.
Yeah.
Never have a roast dinner in the week.
It's too much faffing, isn't it?
Not really. Another Ed McCosh, has said, everyone knows that Mailbag is the greatest show on earth. So outside of Mailbag, what's the greatest show you've ever been to, Dan?
I think just for pure that feeling of being quite overwhelmed by something. My first ever proper gig that my mum and dad let me go to on my own. I went to see The Cure when I was 16.
Nice.
At Earl's Court. And I got a coach. I lived in Essex at the time, and I got a coach up. And they were doing these these packages where you buy your tickets and a coach kind of thing. And they were, anybody that's seen the horrific photo of me with my backcombed hair will know that I was obsessed by The Cure. It was like nothing ever. I've got Boys Don't Cry tattooed on my arm. They were the band for me in that period. I had this stupid black backcombed hair, the holy jumper, the eyeliner, the works. And I remember getting on that coach in Southend and going up to Earl's Court. And they famously do quite a long show, The Cure, because the back catalogue's so huge. So I think it was about 2 hours. And I had to leave early because the coach was going. And but I'll never forget that night. I'll never forget standing in, it's not really an arena, Earl's Court, but it's big, And The Cure were just my favourite band at the time. And to actually sort of be in a live environment on, allowed to come up to London on my own, dressed up. I bought a program, I bought stickers, I bought a poster. I've still got this somewhere in my loft. There's a necklace, and it was the Wish tour, I think. And the logo on the Wish album is like this star. And I've got this pewter necklace thing that I bought as well. I spent every penny I had, and it was just the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It was just like, it was sort of, it was like, the gateway to them being obsessed with going to see bands and traveling the world and traveling the country to see the bands you love. Yeah. But that show was the beginning. That show was the sort of the moment when I realized what live music is and what it can be, and how completely overwhelming it can be, especially when it's a band that have meant so much to you in your formative years. When you live and breathe a band like you do in your teens, you just there's no internet back then, so you have to rabidly consume the NME and the Melody Maker, and to find out anything about these people. I didn't really know much about Robert Smith or Simon Gallup or whoever. I just read bits and I cut bits out, and I had all pictures all over my walls in my bedroom of, from Q magazine and Select, and it was just incredible, absolutely incredible.
It's so weird as well at that age, in those first gigs you go to, because they're generally bands that you really like, the first ones you go to, and then you get into that, you sort of get a little bit older, and you just go to gigs relentlessly, whoever it is, just to see if they're any good or not. Those first ones you go to, the effect that the merchandise store has on you, because there's just so much clobber.
Yeah.
All of your favourite band, it's so expensive, but you've got to get it all. As you say, before like pre-internet days, this was the only place you could get this stuff.
Yeah.
You went to a gig, that was where you get the t-shirt. So you'd either do that or wait until all the Jag ones came out at the end outside, and you could get about 4 for the price of 1 inside there.
You're not of an age where you've got loads of money either, so you're just sort of perving on it all, and most of it's beyond you.
Got so many oversized t-shirts, it's unreal. Because they only ever used to do them in like XL. It was one size fits none, basically.
Yeah.
Sam, what's the greatest show you've ever been to?
It's probably Pulp did like a sort of homecoming type show, one-off, and I'd seen them before, but they'd never done Common People. For some reason, at a festival set I saw them, and at the Manchester Apollo I saw them, and they'd never done common people, and they'd done sort of varying sets and whatnot. But they did a really kind of broad, expansive set at this play at the arena in Sheffield at Meadowhall. And is it called Meadowhall Arena? It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's a big shopping centre there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Probably
and
is, yeah.
it was like the whole my whole family went, so it was like me, my dad, and my sister. It was just really a really kind of wholesome thing that we were both all bang into, and just really, it was just really lovely. It was just a really lovely, wholesome, overawing show. It was dead nice.
And they did all the good ones as well.
And they did all the good ones and some
That's
weird ones, which
Yeah.
that's good too. Like some weird B-side that you've not heard for 10 years.
Yeah,
It's-
and not that many people in the audience know.
Yeah.
That always makes me feel good. That's
You're
just made me
singing
feel-
along to a B-side, like
Yeah.
pointedly.
That's just made me, because I was really struggling with this one, and the thought of definitely wasn't the best show that I went to. So went to a show in Las Vegas, or Paula was 6 months pregnant.
Oh,
We walked for about 2 miles. Yo hotel, and it was across dual carriageways. It was such a weird walk, and because there as well, the buildings are so big that you can't really gauge the distance. So it took us about an hour and a half. I think it took ages to get there. On the recommendation of a dad who said it's the best show in the world, this Rio show, and it was shit. And we were very disappointed. And it was just like we walked all that way in those conditions. It was dead hot as well.
I was going to say it's too hot, Vegas. Like, there's no
Yeah.
point in the year it's not too hot, like oppressively hot.
Yeah, but just thinking back to you saying about pulp playing common people, saw the Coral in Liso Castle.
Oh wow!
One of the most whittle things ever. That has to be. But the set list he did was just unbelievable. The band who aren't really snobby about the songs they do, so they know when they're doing a gig that there are certain songs that everyone wants to hear, and they always play them without fail.
Yeah.
So good live, and it just proper adds to the occasion, doesn't it? But, you know, I hope you play this because they invariably do. So that just sprung to mind, and that was so good. It was a really good day. It was the Skeleton Coast Festival. The Mysteries played as well, on the Fernway. I missed a couple of bands in the afternoon because it was on the same day as Everton drew 2-2 in Southampton against Southampton, when Tom Davis scored the most unenthusiastically applauded goal to equalise in the last minute that we were already. I think it was Allardyce's last game. And I was going the game instead of going to a festival. Idiot. That was silly. Michael Potter, what's your threshold for opening the door, holding open? Start again. What's your threshold for holding the door for someone a certain distance away, counting your head, eye contact, and effort to hurry made? Whether there's a second door to be held, moved that day, or some other code. I mean, he's nailed everything down there. It's possibly a combination of the lot. And the second door to hold open, I've never really thought of that before, but that's so awkward, isn't it? Hold it open for someone. Thanks.
The second one I throw open and just let it sort of waft, because they could pick it up a bit if they want to go through that. If I just give it a good old shove, they can.
Just hope it doesn't slam back.
Yeah, but if it does, I'll be in front of them, far enough in front of them not to look back at them. So that's fine. I clearly have got no social conscience when it comes to door holding. Oh, I will do it, but I'm not gonna overinvest in it.
So if you do then, and someone doesn't say thanks, do that really British thing. Oh, thanks, thank you. Really sarky thank you. Or just do it. I just do it in my head because I don't like the confrontation of it all.
I think this is it. I don't like the confrontation, so I just kind of try and withdraw from it as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, it's like driving as well. If you let another car go and you don't act larger, yeah, cheers, mate.
Oh, that
shout over my shoulder.
I haven't even got a car, and that makes me furious.
Yeah, there's really no need for it.
I did it today at a petrol station, and I reckon my threshold today, I reckon the lady was about 12 foot away, and I saw her. I was leaving the petrol station, she was coming in to pay, and I did that lean back hold. So I was already out, I was out. She was coming from here, and And I went like that, and I did the lean back hold, let her get to about an arm's distance, I reckon, and then I released.
Yeah, that's quite correct.
Because that, even with the weight of the door, you're not going to, you know, and as you say, if they want to pick it up, put a bit of pace on the stroll, they can get in. If not, they've got to deal with it themselves, haven't they?
Yeah, the issue you've got there as well with the lean and hold back, if you don't move out the way, it's going to be an awkward sort of brush past you there.
Yeah.
No one wants that.
No.
Yeah. Nailed that one. Keith, big problem we had this morning by the sound of it. Keith said, my milk frother died this morning, so I was unable to have my morning latte. Give an example of a time that you've been let down by technology in a relatively minor way that has ruined your whole day. See, Keith's one of these conscientious people who he will make his own coffee in the morning instead of going to Costa. Basically, 3 weeks of that, he should be able to buy a house. So he's doing the right thing. You frother, maybe. Sam, what any technology that's just like packed in and done your head in?
I'm really lucky in the coffee regard because I just drink gallons of just black coffee straight out of the cafetiere and I don't do anything to it. I just have a very functional relationship with coffee. It just gets smashed down my throat like 3 times of a morning. It's not complicated, but I suppose if you like fancy coffee, that's nice. I had a sound bar that was about half a second behind the telly, and that is maddening. Like I feel like I'm having a stroke. Like it's not okay. It's unsettling.
Face, arm. No, face.
So was it fire?
Arm, face, soundbar.
Yeah, so ours does that. If you put ours is packed in now as well, for some reason it's just stopped working. But yeah, if we put ours, synced ours up with Bluetooth, it would do that. It would just be not even a second, just dead slightly behind, but enough to really do your head in. Did you fix it, or did you just stop using it?
Stop using it. Yeah. Just couldn't. I couldn't make it any faster. It wasn't expensive enough to be properly synced, so no, binned it off. There's no point making one that's just slightly out of sync because no one can watch that. No one can put up with that.
No. So annoying. That's a good shout. Dan?
Well, I had this recently because we've moved house, as you know, and we're currently having the very on-trend garden room installed, I say, which meant the shed had to be demolished and everything in the shed is currently living in the garden under a tarpaulin. And the other day, I had a craving for a Breville, for a cheesy Breville. I don't want it in the pan. I don't want to sprinkle Parmesan over it like Jamie does to create a cheese crown. I want a squished down, scallop-backed, oozy nightmare. Right, that's what I want. So I knew the Breville was under the tarp. So I went down, scrabbled around, you know, children's clothes we're holding on to for some sort of bizarre sentimental reason, you know, 400 CDs that will never get played again and are basically just a very expensive wind chime, you know. And I found the Breville, and I'd been out and I'd purchased some, you know, bog standard, squidgy white Warburton's toasty bread. I'd got some Marmite cheddar, and I was just, everything was just right. You know, you're like, this is going to be great. I can chill out in the newly refurbished jazz den, recline, burn the roof of my mouth instantaneously because of the schoolboy error that we all make, and the world will be good. And I buttered my bread on the side, you know, on the external.
Yeah.
Liberally applied the Marmite cheddar. Went like that, put it in the thing, turned it on, and it made that almost comedic.
Oh no!
And all the lights in the house went out. And rather than worry about the electrical mayhem that I'd caused in our 350-year-old cottage in Suffolk, I was so fucked off with the fact that I'd gone out, I'd got all the assemblage for this thing, and it was sitting there, tepid, cold, buttered bread, stuck to the Teflon of this useless piece of shit Breville. and the cheese was all there. It was all there, you know, like ready to be locked in. And the Breville had packed up. And my wife's like, well, just put it in the pan. I was like, no.
I don't want it. I don't want it. If I can't have it right, I don't want anything.
Keep your toasty.
I tipped the cheese out in a flourish of nonchalant hatred. Like that. I peeled the 2 bits of buttered bread off the Teflon and kind of folded them up and ate them. And then just picked at the cheese off the chopping board while I stared at this traitorous thing. And and it destroyed that Saturday for me.
Yeah.
And then we got beat.
Inevitably.
I mean, it was going so well. What time was this, by the way?
This was sort of early morning. This was sort of, you know, that thing where you've got up late, breakfast is kind of been and gone. Yeah. You know, that you don't really want a Richmond sausage or a bit of bacon or, you know, the palaver of an egg. So, and you think, well, I'll coast
palaver of an egg.
The palaver of an egg. So I'll coast this through to borderline lunch, you know? I might even put a crescent of crisps around it. You know, whatever.
You were having a lovely day there. Lie in.
Mate, it was banging.
Oh.
I had some tunes on. It was just like, oh, this is going to be great. I can just do that thing. I can just break it open along that already defined seam, you know? Yeah, the thing gave up. I haven't bought another one yet. I haven't had the courage to go and buy another one yet, but I will do. But yeah,
you've been too recently hurt.
Yeah, it's a relationship that has to be mended first. we have to build our trust back.
Oh, do you know what I mean? In-laws have got a Breville machine, and I keep mentioning it in the hope that I'll be offered one, and I haven't been. Like, I keep just going, how did that Breville work then? Was it, yeah, you got much use out of it? Never offered one.
Oh, man. Keep going.
I don't want the
Keep going.
I don't want the responsibility of owning a Breville myself, but, you know.
Well, you want like a timeshare, Breville?
Just want to scrounge them off other people, really.
I'd be saying, could have just borrow it to see if I'll use it. If they don't use it much.
Yeah, but I won't. I won't. I've got a waffle maker. I don't use that. It's just one of those appliances I'll not use.
It just sits in the cupboard.
Well, I'll never be able to get it clean enough to feel like I can make a second one. Like,
what the hell are you going to put in it?
Well, you know, once it's buttery and it's a bit grim and it's got like cheese all down the back and crumbs and stuff, it just doesn't really feel, because you can't submerge it. It never really feels clean again for me. That.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I'd trust someone else's, but I wouldn't trust my own.
That's why you need the timeshare one.
Yeah.
I think my only thing for this is me dating with a USB connection.
Oh, yeah.
Never get the thing right ever. It's like fully against the law of averages how many times it takes me to put that in the slot. It's such it's such perfectly fine design, and I can never get it right. Every time we go, it's 3 goes.
Have you seen that thing on Instagram? These guys that do these trick shot things. You seen that?
No.
There's these guys that they put clocks on the camera so you can see how long it's taken them to do it. You know, some of them it's an elaborately arranged 15 pans, right, at angles, and they bounce a ping pong ball off and it goes bing, 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 bing.
Oh, is it like Do Perfect or something like that?
Yeah, and it lands in a cup, right?
Yeah.
And one of the guys does it with playing cards, and he's got a clip or something on a stand, and he's trying to get it in the paperclip, right? But there's another guy who gets an iPhone and he puts the charging cable at the end of the camera, and he throws the iPhone in various elaborate ways and gets it to land perfectly to marry up with the charging cable. And there's that moment where he kind of like, he'll have like a selection of slides and obstacles, and he'll launch this iPhone and it will kind of lift and bounce and do this thing. And then it slowly goes dunk and docks into the charging cable, and you see the phone go as it charges.
Wow.
And then there's a clock by the side of him, and it will be ticking round as he's doing it. And they're obviously editing it, but it will say that and stuff like that. It's an Instagram phenomenon. People doing all these mad trick shots, but there's a guy who just does it with iPhones, trying to dock it onto the charging cable.
See, now we can do that, but I reckon when he's plugging the USB into the plug socket, I bet it takes him 3 goes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Oh God, I'm looking at my laptop charger now as well. That can piss off and all. MagSafe. The MagSafe ones.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
can piss off and all.
Yeah.
I've had several just complete days ruined by them. But I'm reliant on them. This is the problem. It's like an abusive relationship.
How many of those cables you go through in a week? What how much spending on this habit?
Thinking about it, I must spend £100 a year on them.
I mean, they're not cheap, are they?
No.
And flimsy and shit.
Yeah, and I'm sure I go through 2 a year. It's like a maintenance charge for having a laptop.
When is someone going to have the brain to invent a USB chargeable remote control for your telly?
Oh yeah.
just like cradle it on you at night to charge.
I've got this TV that seems to go through 4 tiny, those little tiny Cornichon batteries.
Yeah.
That's how much of a hipster I am. I call them Cornichon batteries. And it's like a smart TV and shit and all that. And the remote's not that big, but it takes like 4 of those little things. And it's constantly telling me on the screen, batteries are low. Your batteries are low again. Your batteries are low. It's like, well, why can't someone come up with a remote that I just dock?
That makes a lot of sense. Do you remember the old Sky remotes? They used to put the fear of God into you if the batteries were low, because it would make out like your whole system was going to explode if the batteries ever ran out in your remote. So as soon as that message came up saying your batteries low, like, oh shit, no, better change them. I don't know what they did, but it properly got into my head that you cannot let your Sky remote batteries run out, else things will go badly wrong. You
would be screwed though, wouldn't you? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think I've had about 3 of them. I don't know, is this, at some point I've got to stop blaming technology and start taking responsibility, but I've definitely had more than one Sky remote.
Maybe it's just you, Sam.
It might be. But no, other people it must happen to, because they sell them in Asda.
True.
So, this has happened to enough people for them to be commercially available.
Yeah, that's a good shout. While you just have that little existential crisis, we're going to the last question. In light of Saturday's VAR nonsense, when was the time you did something blatantly wrong / made a big mistake and got away with it? Sam, I feel you will have something great for this.
I don't know if it's great. I think, because all the great ones I did not get away with. All the amusing things are just... The
flaming toast, you didn't even get away with that, really, did you? Because they clocked you.
No, I did. I pretended to get away with it, just ignored it, and thought that would make it go away. But I used to work. The best thing I've got away with was being on a late shift at a place that happened to have a conference room, and there was an evening game on. And, as conference rooms do, they've got a great big pulley down screen and a great big PA around them. And I managed to watch the football on my own in the conference room on the big screen in a big kind of theatre-y type, in the conference-y type place. That was pretty much worth it. That was good. Mind you, there's every chance they checked and knew that I did that and just decided it wasn't worth firing me.
Bit like if you find your presents as a kid, and you never know if your mum and dad have known if you found them, but they probably just can't be asked.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing.
Is this the thing that we want to have the fallout over?
Yeah. No, well, you got away with that then.
Yeah. It's just, it was really hard thinking of something I got away with. I do not normally get away with
get away with stuff. Dan?
When I started brewing, like a lot of people back then, when the sort of craft beer scene started, a lot of us were home brewers who became professional brewers. There was a lot of leeway back then for making mistakes. Social media wasn't what it was. There was no beer rating sites where people could slag you off and kill your business in a heartbeat. And we all were winging it, most of it. You know, there were the traditional guys, obviously. There were the people that were kind of, you know, they've been doing it for a while, but there was a lot of us who were kind of, we'd got you know, there were even people that were starting breweries with no experience at all. Some of them still going, turning over millions of pounds now, you know what I mean? But I got my first head brewer job after I was a brewery assistant, and the head brewer quit mid-brew. Had a row with the brewery owner, took his gloves off, told him to get fucked, and walked out the door and never came back. And the owner of the brewery was like, well, the gig's yours. And I'd only been there 2 weeks, and I hadn't really done much brewing on a professional level at that point. So I took the job, and he gave me a month's kind of grace. And I spent the first week, I had 2 friends that were already brewers, both amateurs turned pro, but they'd been in the game a bit longer than me. And I spent the entire week taking pictures of everything and saying, what is that? What is that? What do I do with that? Where does that go? Do I turn that on? Do I turn that off? Do I open that or do I close that? And my days took forever because I'd have to wait for the text message to come back. So I'd see there'd be a sort of bag of grain, and I'd be like, so I'd get the grain in my hand and take a picture and go, what is this? And then I'd sit there pretending to look busy, and the text would come back and he'd say, it's flaked oats. And I'd be like, right, what do I do with the flaked oats?
Well, milk,
you know.
what do we do?
And then there'd be like a button on a piece of equipment, and I'd say, what do I do with that? And they go, turn it on. If it starts to smell like it's burning, turn it off. And I managed to get through an entire week blagging the whole, making it up as I went along, and using the kindness of friends and the joy of photo messaging to basically get me through. And I ended up being there for nearly 2 years and winning like gold medals for camera and all this sort of stuff. But the first week was hairy as you like, and it gives you that feeling. And it's still something I feel like, because I didn't train, I haven't got any qualifications, I didn't do anything. And you always feel like there's going to be that day where someone taps you on the shoulder and goes, oi, you, come on, off. You've had a good run. Come on, off you go. But no one died, and I was poisoned. And it turned out all right in the end. But yeah, for that first week, I felt like a complete charlatan.
It's horrible feeling out your depth, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
the thing, though, isn't it?
I got home every night. I couldn't sleep every night. I just didn't sleep every night because I didn't know if I'd done the right thing every single night, and it was just horrible.
I mean, now there's virtually no job that there isn't a YouTube tutorial for. Like, that's. I remember my dad saying his last job in the civil service, for the last year or so, he'd got a job that he never did anything without having to Google it first, because that was just the nature of the job. He wasn't really up to it, but he was like, but I could Google it and I could do the job. So, and that is pretty much virtually every job. As long as you can Google it reasonably accurately, you're fine.
Yeah, whatever works.
Don't worry, everyone. Just Google it.
Yeah, emergency tracheotomy.
What is it? Doctor, lawyer, engineer. Apart from those three, just basically YouTube it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be pretty nerve-wracking if you got on the dentists. Hang on, I just got to check one. One sec. Just to finish it, my one on this was I crashed the entire Money Supermarket website at 15 on a Friday afternoon. Basically, the content management system was so shit. I don't know how big this was, about 2014, but the company was massive then anyway. But they had a really shit content management system. So
no excuse for that.
Well, exactly. I did something. It didn't tell me to not do it. It didn't give me any sort of warning. But then when I hit publish or whatever it was, and went to check the site, it was just a massive error page. But this was on every single page, not just the content pages, like the main home page, the commercial page, fuck everything.
Sorry.
It was like I sat there for about 10 minutes. You know, you get that empty feeling. Oh my God, what have we done? Absolutely dreadful. Got away with it though because to catch a developer before they went. We'd had done this half later. I'd have had to have gone to someone quite senior and say, look, I really fucked up here. And then they would have got involved and it probably would have ended quite badly. I wanted to catch someone who sorted it pretty much straight away. Thankfully, it was quite an easy fix. How the hell you can crash a website like that easily and then fix it that easily is beyond me. But that's how it went. And then on the Monday, sort of came clean to a couple of people on my team what had happened. And they were like, oh yeah, we've all done that. Everyone, like, oh, you sort of like, that's your initiation over now. You've crashed the website. Well done. It turns out every fucker who used this content management system had done the same thing.
Whoever designed that, I'm furious with them.
It was called Red Dot. It was shit. It was so bad.
Because that's everybody's arse falling out at some point. That
yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Someone could take that really badly.
Yeah. Oh God, it was horrible. Yeah, I definitely got away with that one. And that's it for this week's mailbag. On that bombshell, I've had a lovely Wednesday evening. I may do this again sometime. I quite like the midweek mailbag. Thanks to Sam. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to everyone who sent questions in. We'll catch you next time.